Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Josh and this is your stimulus check update for the second stimulus package for Saturday, August 22nd. I hope everyone is having a good and safe start to their weekend so far. In this video, I'll be discussing both the first and second stimulus check, including with the House set to meet today, is there any chance at all for them voting on another stimulus package? I'll also be discussing the relief package timeline, unemployment, and then I'll be wrapping up this video by answering some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. But first, if you wouldn't mind real quickly liking this video, giving me a big thumbs up, it really just helps with the YouTube algorithm in terms of pushing this video out to other viewers like you, and hopefully helping other people like you as well. Okay, so I'm just going to start out this video real quickly by listing the states which have already been approved by FEMA for the $300 federal plus-up. These states include Arizona, Colorado, Idaho, Iowa, Louisiana, Maryland, Michigan, Missouri, Montana, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Utah. Now, I'm hoping that these states that have already been approved begin to send out payments within the next week or two. At this point in time, Arizona remains the lone state that has already begun sending out payments to its residents. Now, the states that have already applied but are still awaiting approval include California, Indiana, Kentucky, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Rhode Island, Texas, Vermont, and West Virginia. Let's hope that those states can be quickly approved so they can begin sending out payments here very, very soon. Now, Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, Massachusetts, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, and Washington are currently in the pre-application phase, which simply means they have announced their intent to apply or are in the process of applying for the grant. As far as the other states go, we can only hope that they get their stuff together and apply for this grant sooner than later. Now, they will have all the way until September 10th to have their application received by FEMA in order to be considered for the grant. So even though they still have 2 to 3 more weeks, the time is ticking. Additionally, it is also expected that around 1 million Americans won't be receiving the extra $300 weekly benefit at all, even if they do live in a state that was approved by FEMA for the grant. This is because individuals who receive less than $100 in unemployment assistance through their regular state programs aren't going to be eligible for the federal benefit. And this, of course, will disproportionately affect the lowest paid workers. Now, what do you guys personally think about this? Should people who receive less than $100 in aid at the state level be excluded from the $300 weekly federal benefit? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Alright, so the House will be having an unusual Saturday session today where they will be voting on not a stimulus relief bill for Americans, but a relief bill for the U.S. Postal Service. That's right, in a time of need where we have millions of Americans unemployed and many other Americans in need of a stimulus check, we're meeting to talk about the post office funding. After all, the upcoming election really is just super important. So, this bill that they're voting on is called the Delivering for America Act, and it includes $25 billion in additional U.S. Postal Service funding. In addition to that, it would also prohibit any operational changes made this year that could possibly impede service. Moreover, it would also require that all official election mail be treated as first-class mail, and it would also prohibit removing any mail sorting machines and mailboxes. So basically, this bill is all about the Postal Service and making sure things run smoothly for the November election. Nothing to do with helping the American people. Even though Mitch McConnell said this bill has no chance at all in passing the Senate in its current form without additional relief aid, the House is still going to vote on it. Even after over 100 House Democrats suggested the party instead vote on a bill to reinstate the weekly unemployment benefit for workers, they're still going through with the Postal Service funding vote instead. That just doesn't make too much sense to me, but maybe I'm missing something. Now, Nancy Pelosi said that even though she supports the extension of the unemployment benefits, she felt that it's currently the wrong timing to hold a vote. Pelosi then went on to say, "I don't think strategically it's where we should go right now because the Republicans would like to pass something like that and say, forget about it. Forget about state and local, forget about our investments in stopping the virus, forget about other initiatives, about feeding the food insecure in our country, vote by mail initiatives, and the rest." Nancy Pelosi is also fearful if the House passes a standalone bill dealing with extending the unemployment insurance, then Senate Republicans could amend the deal and add what she calls poison pills. These poison pills, even though she didn't go into exact detail, could include something like liability protection, which would protect business owners, schools, and hospitals from being sued in relations to the virus. So, it's still pretty apparent that at this point in time, the House Speaker is still opposed to any sort of skinny bill. And again, I don't want to put any blame on either side. The House passed the HEROES Act way back in May, and the Senate called it dead on arrival. The Republicans, since then, have tried compromising on a deal, but haven't been able to work anything out. It doesn't really matter which side you want to blame. In the end, the two sides need to work together to reach a deal. That said, it's without question that both the Republicans and the Democrats have a lot in common. They both want more stimulus checks. They both want to extend the federal unemployment insurance benefits. They both want more aid for small businesses. The list goes on and on, so they could easily pick a few things out that they do agree on. That way, Americans could at least get some relief, but they can't, so here we are. That said, it's unlikely we see much progress over the next few days as far as stimulus relief goes. However, I still remain optimistic that the two sides will eventually reach a bipartisan agreement. You can call me crazy, you can call me naive, but with elections coming up in November, this is going to get very political. Neither side wants to seem as the bad guy who is being seen as the one keeping Americans from receiving another $1,200 check or families from receiving additional relief. Neither side wants to be seen as the one blocking unemployment relief from going through. Both the Republicans and the Democrats fully well know the approval rating of stimulus checks and extending the unemployment insurance benefits. There was actually a recent survey done with 2,800 US adults, and 80% of them supported the federal government issuing a second round of stimulus checks. Though, I guess that really shouldn't come at much of a surprise. After all, who's going to decline a $1,200 check? Now, it was found that 67% of Republicans support a second check, 92% of Democrats support one, and 86% of independents check off yes on a second round of payments. So, who would have thought? Stimulus checks are immensely popular. Now only if our politicians we voted into power can get a word of that also and pass that bill, we can start dispersing some more of those funds. Let's hope so. Anyways. Okay, so just a cool, heartwarming story I wanted to share real quickly is out of Oregon, where as I shared in my last video, they are currently giving out $500 stimulus checks to their residents. Anyways, as people were waiting in line for the $500, a man pulled up in his car, and so he initially seemed a little bit irritated because the ATM was blocked with the long line. Now, when those people in line explained that they were in desperate need of help financially, and they were simply waiting for the $500, the man instantly pulled out this huge stack of $100 bills, and he began distributing them to every person in line. And then, just like that, he took off without even demanding even so much as a thank you. The man didn't even identify himself before leaving, so we don't even know what his name is. Stories like that just warm your heart, and I feel like we hear so many stories with bad news, doom and gloom, and these types of stories don't get nearly enough attention that they deserve. Okay, so at this point in time, I'm just going to give some quick updates on the first round of stimulus payments because unfortunately, there are still millions of Americans who haven't even received their first stimulus payment, even though the IRS may be sending out a second round of $1,200 checks in the next month or so if Congress can finally get their act together and pass a bill. Now, let me know in the comment section below if you've already received your first stimulus check or if you're still currently waiting on it. So, if you still haven't received your first stimulus payment, I know you're frustrated and have almost given up hope by now. I can't blame you. No one can blame you, and I'm so incredibly sorry it's taking this long. There is absolutely no excuse on the IRS's part at this point in time. It's ridiculous. Anyways, at this point, the only thing you can do is continue checking the payment portal on a daily basis. Even though you've probably been doing exactly this for the past month, one day you will log in there as normal and you'll see that it has finally updated. I've seen so many comments in the past where people were checking every single day for months and the same thing happened to them. They didn't believe their status would ever change, but when it finally did, it absolutely blew their mind. So, just like their payment status changed, yours definitely will too. Patience has to be your best friend at this point in time, even though I know it has to be wearing very thin. And again, I certainly don't blame you for that. Additionally, if you have a few minutes of your day, you can always call the IRS with any additional questions that you may have about your first stimulus payment. The best number you can reach them at would be 1-800-919-9835, and the only recommendation that I would have for you is to try calling a little bit earlier in the day just to avoid those longer hold times. And Finally, if you still haven't received the extra $500 stimulus payment for your dependents that you claimed under the age of 17, the IRS recently noted that you should be receiving that by mid-October at latest. Now, if you're currently on Social Security benefits, then it is required that you use the non-filers tool to claim those dependents by September 30th. Otherwise, unfortunately, you'll have to wait all the way until next year to claim the $500 credit on your tax return. Now, if you've already used the non-filers tool to claim your dependents, then you do not need to take any further action at this point in time. Alright, so at this point, I'm just going to answer some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. And if you have any other comments or questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I do try to respond to as many comments and questions as I possibly can, but for those comments and questions I'm not able to respond to, I do try to pick some of the more popular ones to answer in the next video in video form. Okay, so without further ado, let me go ahead and jump into the first comment of today's video, which is from Pamela. Pamela says, "Don't we have to pay taxes on our second stimulus check?" Alright, thank you so much for your question, Pamela. And no, we don't have to pay any taxes on our first or second stimulus check. The $1,200 is simply considered an advance refundable tax credit, so it won't be taxed on at all. Now, as far as the unemployment benefits go, they will be taxed on just like your normal income would be. The stimulus checks, however, won't be taxed on at all, so that's obviously a very good thing. Okay, moving right along to the next question of today's video, which is from Christy. Christy says, "Will disability recipients still get the $1,200 stimulus check like before, even if you were not required to fill out tax returns in the last 2 years? Mine just came to me without having to do anything, not even filling out the non-filers info. It came as my check is deposited monthly." Alright, thank you so much for your question, Christy, and you are 100% correct. You will definitely not need to fill out the non-filers tool for the second round of payments either, since you started receiving your benefits before this year. Now, if someone is on Social Security benefits, but they didn't start receiving them until this year, then it would have been required of them to fill out the non-filers tool in order to receive their payment. Additionally, the second round of payments should also be going out much quicker this time around, and I'd imagine none of us will have to use the non-filers tool or the payment portal to receive our payment, just because the IRS already has all of our information from the first round. That said, the IRS still hasn't paid several people from the first round, so it really wouldn't surprise me too much if they completely drop the ball in the second round as well. But we simply have to hope for the best here. Alright, so on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you did enjoy the content in this video and you'd like to see more videos like it, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It is completely free to do so, and it's a great support to me. Also, if you'd like to receive 2 free stocks from Webull, with the second free stock being valued all the way up to $1,400, please feel free to claim those 2 free stocks by clicking the link in the description box below. And until next time, I'll see you guys, and I hope you have a great day today.